Hello YouTubers! Alright, so on this edition of an Earth Works Showcase project, we are doing another pond. So this is going to be a fun one. We get to rebuild a pond that hasn't been functioning as nicely as they'd like it to. Check out all that rock. That's all going in this new pond. Michael's been out here for an entire day already. We've run into a couple complications. Basically, we were just a little too close to the water and didn't estimate the amount of groundwater and the rainwater we've had recently. So this project has become exponentially more difficult than it should be. He's an ex-sheriff of Jacksonville. They're retired now, and they just want something they can sit by and enjoy.
Hey, welcome to the backyard. We're installing this pond in. I'm going to walk you through some of these challenges we're facing. Number one, we're right on the river, so cold days here in Florida. That wind coming off that water is horrible. It's extremely cold.
So explain why they're probably not hearing us right now, Mike. Why can they not hear us right now?
Well, we got a trash pump running right now. We have an excess amount of groundwater that is just pouring in through the sides of our hole here, coming up from the bottom. Some of it probably has to do with us being so close to the river. Another thing is just heavy rains here. These yards hold so much water, so we have to constantly be sumping this stuff out. I've never been faced with this challenge this bad before. We've had dealt with groundwater issues before, but this is the first time we're going to be installing pretty much like a drain underneath the pond, right? So we'll always be able to hook into this pipe that we're going to install below the liner and under gravel. Whenever we come out to do a clean out, we can tie back into that and just get all the groundwater out, because when you drain the pond and there's all that groundwater, you're going to have bubbling issues, and that's never a good thing. You can get holes and everything like that in your liner. So at this point, we're going to start carving out our new shape, but more importantly, we're going to be carving out our drainage line out to the outside of the pond.
Yep, and this is his new shape. So you guys can kind of see on here, we got the skimmer kind of placement, and that dotted line is the shape of his pond.
There was an existing pond here. We came in, there was no liner. It was all cement and flagstone. There's actually a slab under the concrete shell on this one. So we've already spent a full day of demo with a jackhammer out here, and we finally got down to earth. And you can see right here, this is a slab that was poured that shoots back. This is where all the waterfalls were. It was like 3 to 4 feet high of waterfalls coming in. We're going to be able to set our first waterfall on top of all of that and just shoot our elevation on top. So we're not going to demo that. We'll build in. Our shelving will come in and then up and over. So we're kind of cheating. We don't have to take that part out. We're sick of the jackhammer.
Yep. So this guy here on the right is the one that actually used to work in a pool company, right? That's correct. That's correct. He's the genius that came up with the idea of putting that pump to use that I told Doug. I was actually just telling Michael that I told Doug that probably 2-3 years ago when he bought that big trash pump.
We're never going to need it, right?
We're never going to need it. And you just proved me wrong and him right. So,
hey,
good move on the trash pump. Hey, appreciate that.
Hey everybody, it's Mike here. We're at the McMillan job, aka the sheriff's compound. As you can see, we're on day 3 now. We got the majority of the pond rocked. We got the first waterfall set here. We're going to start carving out our elevations for the second and third waterfall. One thing I went over with the homeowner is just we always try to capture viewpoints from inside the house and locations that they spend a lot of time in. They like to eat dinner. They have a nice little porch right here. They eat dinner out there all the time, they said. So we're really going to focus our lighting on the waterfalls and the direction of the waterfalls so they can capture and enjoy it at night. We're here on day 4. Got Mr. McMillan here.
Actually, we had a patio put in just before Hurricane Irma, about over a year ago. And I asked the guys, I said, do y'all do waterfalls? And they said, oh yeah, we do. I said, well, if you could put me one in here. And they built something, and it ended up kind of looking like a pyramid. And they just had the rocks folded over on it. And you could kind of see the liner, and it just didn't look natural. It didn't look right. And so I went out to your place and I bought a bunch of rocks and took it on my own to try to make it look as good as I could. And it was not anything close to this, but it looked halfway decent.
Yeah.
And then along come Hurricane Irma, and the water had 3 foot of water come through here, flooded our house, and washed out the whole back of this. And so I said,
That's
well,
crazy.
we're going to need to start over. I didn't like it too much to begin with, so we'll just start over and do it right. And contacted y'all, and I can tell you, this is 100% better than what it was. It's
That's
really,
good to hear.
Really beautiful, and it's going to look really nice. And I started to go with you folks before. I've been out and bought things from you, and I saw your ponds. I knew you did it right, and I wish I'd have done it in the first place, because I recommend it. Anybody wants a waterfall, wants it done right, they ought to see Earth Works, because you know what you're doing. Really natural looking too.
Yeah.
I know when Jason come out and looked at it and kind of was laying out a plan. I was telling him I just don't like it. He says, well, it looked like a volcano. I said, you hit it right on the head. That's what it looked like.
Yeah,
what
definitely.
I liked about the other one is the sound. I like the falling of the water.
Yeah.
And so I think this is going to give a good sound to it too.
I think so. Probably in the next 20 minutes or so, our water level will be high enough up to where we can turn it on. And then if it doesn't sound good, you could tell us to rip it all up and read it. No, I'm sure the sound's going to be great.
Well, I really like the way you take care about where you place the rocks and how they look, and if it doesn't fit right, put another one in there. It just shows you you're trying to make something look natural and aesthetically pretty, you know. So
Yep. I was told by some of the aquascape guys, the manufacturers of some of the units and product that we install, the waterfalls should look good off as well as running, you know. So some people, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you can start, like, as you're building, you can really get nitpicky with your own work, and I think that's when you grow as like an artist, you know. So some people,
it is an artist. I mean, it's a knack to knowing, you know, just how to do that.
Yeah, so some people, to make like a sheet waterfall, will stack multiple small rocks and put a piece of flagstone on it. There's nothing wrong with that. It creates that nice solid wall of water pouring over. But when you turn it off, it kind of looks funky, you know. You don't really see that kind of stuff in nature too often.
It doesn't look as natural either.
Yeah, so when you find some of these larger rocks with really crisp lines on it, you know that water is going to fold right over it and do the same thing as the flagstone would. And it looks, in my opinion, it looks a lot better than the flagstone on top of the small stuff. So Mr. McMillan, 95, you retired from your duty as sheriff of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. I've never built a water feature for a sheriff before. I feel honored.
Not something you think about sheriff being associated with, I guess, but we've always enjoyed something like that. Wanted one for a long time. Yeah, after I retired in 95, we had bought some property up in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And we ended up building a house on it, and we, since then, been spending the summers up there and the fall up there. And I built a waterfall coming down the side there. I said, this is great. I'd like to have one of these at home, you know.
Couldn't get enough of it, huh?
Yeah. So anyway, that's I tried a few times with my own hands to do it, and it just didn't quite work out like this. But this is going to be really nice. We just enjoy that kind of thing. I like the big rocks, you know, particularly up North Carolina. We go hiking a lot, and you got the mountains, and you got so many natural
massive
water,
outcroppings,
streams and waterfalls and things.
Yep.
If I could recreate that in my backyard, I wouldn't have to be gone so much. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Behind me is a massive old cypress tree. It's super beautiful, but what they do is they end up popping out. We call them cypress knees, and it's actually the tree breathing, so it can take an extreme amount of water and they'll shoot those up just for oxygen purposes. So like throughout the yard and just like randomly in the bed, there are those knees, and he had a couple saved that were broken off, and I sunk one down in the pond. I thought that would be a cool feature just to tie everything in, you know. If these knees are popping up in this landscape, I figured why not make it look like one's popping up through, you know, the middle of the pond. We have another one up here, right up at the top fall. That'd be pretty cool, just the water interacting around it. Just simple little details like that makes a huge difference, you know.
I love that they stole a cypress knee from your yard and put it in there.
Michael's idea.
Yeah.
I said that thing's gonna float, so he glued it down in there.
He foamed it?
They
Yeah.
had this one up here, and they were trying to get it and it floated, so they just sit it up there. I had, actually, that's what I had over the top of I had this built up with rock and sit that over the top of where the electric thing was, that cypress thing.
Oh, really?
I'll have to find me some way to disguise that once we get it all.
Well, we have these really cool faux logs. There's faux logs that we have that you can put on it. Yep. And it's cool because it has a flat surface on it, so you could actually even just sit on it or just put something decorative on it if you wanted to. Yep. Was this piece of wood also?
That was the one I was using.
I love that. Yeah. That's a great edge finish right there.
I don't know how long it'll last, but we always replace it with something that could go.
Well, but it's not in the water, so it should last. It should last a good 5 to 10 years at least.
Just lay it around. I had it on the edge of covering where one of the cords went up there or something that I had before. Yeah, they're pretty innovative about using stuff. I like those.
Yeah.
This is a good idea here.
And they set that for you, right? That flagstone, or did you set that?
The big one?
Yeah.
No, they just laid these in here for me.
That's good. That's a seamless transition right there. I love that.
That's what they had leaning on the sides of it.
You were describing it, yeah. Yeah. I pictured that. You did a good picture on that. Hey, Mrs. McMillan, how are you?
This is we can see it from the living room and the dining room, the kitchen and the porch. So I'm glad we came out this far.
Yeah.
Sitting over that far edge of the thing, you can see right through there.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say the waterfall with all the different angles, is it much more enjoyable this time around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks so much more natural too. Yeah.
You can play with so many things, like with that up there. Michael's got a little small rock here. Like literally, you can take that out and it changes like the direction. It'll create less water here. So Michael put this in, kind of creating a little bit of a dam effect. See how it just changed it again? So you can play with it in so many ways. It's all stuff for you to play with.
And she was worried because we had the others were splashing out because I didn't have much room, you know, it was splashing.
Yep.
We're losing some water, but I haven't noticed us losing any water at all.
You can play with this after you put up the Christmas tree.
Yeah. You've been asking me for days.
You got 1 week left. You better get on it, Jim.
If I don't get it up pretty soon, I know I'll put it up.
All right, guys, we're back. Project is finished, as you can see, and this was another fun one right here on the St. Johns River. Michael did an amazing job with this one. This one turned out even a lot taller than I thought it was going to be, but I absolutely love the way this waterfall turned out, and I think the homeowners would agree that from their vantage point, they have upstairs, they have downstairs, and all the vantage points now, they can see this project. So, perfect example of a homeowner that has had a plastic tub to start their hobby, right? So this started out as just a plastic tub from either Walmart or Home Depot years and years ago. So they upgraded to another contractor that built a pond, and then we came in as the third pond. So most homeowners get 3 ponds in their lifetime, and so we hope this is their last one. But this is the Mac Daddy upgraded for them that they can kind of, you know, retire with and be done with. So I love how Michael's got the water feature coming in where it kind of swirls through the project because the skimmer is on this end. So the waterfall actually turns and twists the stream, the effect does. He had to, as you can tell, you probably can't tell actually, but he's actually raised the pond level up a little bit because they've had flooding issues. The whole reason, one of the major reasons we're here is because this river flooded them last year during the last hurricane, and this entire backyard was flooded. They had water damage in the house, and it was just not a pretty story. So we came in and did this, and we've actually raised it up a little bit to help ward off just water runoff and the fact that there was groundwater. This was a challenging project for Michael. There was so much groundwater. Florida, it's typical groundwater issues, but this one was really bad where we hit it immediately. And so he built up in order to get that 2-foot distance, and then actually built up the waterfall even bigger. So this whole project just became much more dynamic than I ever thought it would be. So absolutely love it. Another great project from Earth Works.